I can't do it.
Okay.
We'll do it live.
Okay.
Do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
LegacyMaker, the All Sports Network, presents a SIRTOBA media production where the struggle is real to be awesome.
5, 4, 3, 2.
The wait is over.
Your wheels are important. Your left and your right, your wheels, they are very important, Tony. And you might have money. You might have a lot of money. You don't have John Madden money, man. You do not have John Madden money.
Get your popcorn ready. It's time for the In or Out Sports Debate with your hosts,
Ben Sudderth III of the BS3 Network
and Drew Willingham.
Hello, everyone. We are live with episode 80 of the In or Out Sports Debate. I am your host, Drew Willingham, along with this week's very special panelist. Special 80 episodes. We've been through a hell of a lot through this show, and we are about to bring someone on who's just as monumental as the network that we have here for LegacyMaker Sports Network. Give it up for the head honcho, the founder of the BS3 Network, the man himself, Ben Sudderth III. Welcome to the show, brother.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here. Man, I love the setup and everything, so I'm ready to get into it.
I appreciate it, man. We've definitely been through, like I was saying with the intro, we've been through a lot here with this show. So many people have been through the ranks of this show. And just like every episode that we do at the beginning, we have to acknowledge the Vault of Fame.
Acknowledge me.
Man, you took me back. This is why this show was so important, and this is why I am personally validating and vouching for this show. If you are anybody in media, sports, professional wrestling, anything, you need to be on In or Out Sports Debate with my man Drew Willingham, because this has got to be one of the most fun things I've ever done in a long time.
And that's right, ladies and gentlemen. That is the In or Out Sports Debate Vault of Fame, which you can find this show on the LegacyMaker Sports Network on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, and the TikTok channel as well, and the latest in sports at LegacyMakerSports.com. You can find the In or Out Sports Debate on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and Twitch, as well as the audio platforms on the Apple and Google Podcast, Spotify, Amazon Prime, Anchor.fm, and you can download these individual episodes on iTunes. SIRTOBA Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome, the video production brand behind these crazy shenanigans that I do with my videos. Here on the LegacyMaker Sports Network, you can find on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and the YouTube channel that I've been saying for quite some time will be coming soon, but I promise it is coming. You can check out the latest for us there at SIRTOBA.com. Guys, we are here for episode 80 with the legend BS3, as he is here to go with me through 5 epic rounds that we have for tonight. And before we get started, man, the BS3 Network, what inspired you to bring that about? I love it hearing everybody's story, and we got to start this one off strong by hearing yours. When did all of this come about? Where did the passion, where did it all start from?
Yeah, so interesting enough, I was on a friend's podcast actually back in 2015. Went on that podcast. I'm a Tarheels fan, so we were talking Tar Heel football, and I just got hooked on the podcasting. From there, did my own podcast for years, and then 2019, I was on a network, and I was thinking like I may want to branch off and do my own thing. That's how BS3 Network started, and that's my initials. So Ben Sudderth III. That's where the BS3 comes in at. The name has stuck. And that we've been rocking ever since 2019. So we'll be coming up on 4 years this year in August for the network as a whole. I started off as just podcasting, and then how StreamYard came about. I was very hesitant when it came to StreamYard, but eventually I tapped in, and now we're doing the video aspect of it. And we have a Roku channel, which Snowman in the Morning and Cole Johnson and Wise, that all their shows are on the Roku channel also. So yeah, it's been an amazing journey, and I feel like we're just getting started.
You guys are definitely, trailblazing in your own ways, and there's certain heights that we've reached over here in LegacyMaker that of course you want to achieve as well, and certain things that you've done and vice versa. So might have to have some conversations off the air about some certain things, about exchanging some things back and forth, kind of like people trade their lunches at lunchtime at work or whatnot. But dude, I gotta say I've been a fan of you guys in Snowman in the Morning and Cole. Snowman and Wise have been big into introducing me into your work, and you guys are crushing it. You have a variety of sports, culture, like politics, a variety of different things that one network is either too scared to bring certain things to light, or they just don't do it all that well. And I love what I'm seeing, what you guys are doing, and it's like the mom and pop places around town. You want to go there to show your love or whatnot, because they're grinding out here in these streets just like us out here in these streets as well. Right. That's how I feel about when it comes to us, when it comes to our productions and technology. We're just getting started, like you said. So look forward to see what you guys do in the future, as vice versa you do with us as well.
Awesome. Yeah. There's greatness coming.
Absolutely. And we got some greatness tonight, my man, as we got 5 rounds to go ahead and take this into. Fans, buckle up. Like we say in the intro, get your popcorn ready. Let's go ahead and take this thing on into round 1, see what we got in store for Big Ben.
Round 1.
And here with round 1, the 2022-2023 UNC Tar Heels men's basketball team's inability to produce offensively in decisive moments of games cost them a March Madness run. With the statement at hand, Ben, how do you feel about this? Do you agree with the statement? Are you in or are you out on this one?
I am 100% in. And I'll say I'm in because the proof is in the pudding. Throughout this entire season, they have not been able to put together a string of wins or beat top competition in the ACC or outside of the ACC. So I definitely think this is not going to be a duplicate of last year, and I think it's going to end up costing them, a trip to the Final Four. They may even get out in the Sweet 16.
Absolutely, and that's being gracious with them, saying there with the Sweet 16, because like I'm about to break down in this with you as well. Like I agree with what Ben's saying. I'm in on this as well. All right, guys, let's take a little trip down memory lane. Tonight we got a game going on right now. The Tar Heels, as they currently play Notre Dame, and they are down 23-17, down by 6 with only 3 minutes left in the first half. Currently on a 2-game losing skid, just losing to NC State this past Sunday, as well as Miami of Florida, the ranked 13th Miami, Florida. You have, with them, the University of Miami coming in there and beating them by 8, but that's a home game for UNC. So, at Chapel Hill, you would expect them to have a little bit of the edge, but they did not against the 13th ranked team in the nation. Before that, they did beat Clemson by 20, but come on, guys, it's Clemson that we're talking about. Let's not get excited, all right? So let's take it down a little bit. So when you think about them beating Clemson by 20, that's nice, bro. It's like watching Bonbon, and I'm going to bring that up for Snowman. It's like watching Bonbon getting like 36 points in that game where he surpassed Kareem, and then he scored 2 more points after that because he sat on the bench and was usefulness after that. We'll get into LeBron James here in round 3. But when you go into that Clemson game before that, they had just lost to Wake Forest the game before that. They got smoked by Duke the game before that. They got beat by Pittsburgh in a nail-biter by 1 point. They were on a 3-game losing skid going into that last victory over Clemson before they had their 2-game losing skid coming into this. So basically what I'm saying is they're on pace to lose this one against Notre Dame. And then they play the 6th-ranked Virginia team. Virginia Cavaliers come to town to Chapel Hill on this upcoming Saturday, the 25th. There's a lot going on in NCAA basketball, and especially with the Tar Heels. You've got to look at this and just think to yourself,
Damn!
Because it is rough out there in these streets for this team right now.
It is. It is. And I think a lot of people thought, well, they went to the championship game last year, so it should be a duplicate. It doesn't always work that way. And I think we've seen with this team that they cannot, or they haven't been able to match up against top teams, like I said, in the ACC or outside of the ACC. And if you're struggling to beat teams in the ACC, it's going to be a tough road for you. I do think the talent is not great. Let's just be honest. I think it's above average. I like Baycott. I like Caleb Love. I like RJ Davis, but none of them are going to match up against some of the all-time UNC greats. I'm gonna go way back. Ed Cota, Shammond Williams. You know, a lot of those cats that played top basketball and they went on runs. I just don't think that this squad matches up with that, and I think that's definitely going to cost them.
Absolutely, and just with the way that the production's been, and that's why I worded this the way that it has been, because with this team's inability to produce, especially on offense, defense, they're not looking half bad. They're keeping the game close with their defense, but you got to be able to match on both sides of the ball, and especially with the way the game is played in today's NBA and now in NCAA between the two different leagues, that you got to be able to match up on both sides of the ball. It's more hybrid now than anything because of how much the game has evolved into all these rules. Like Tom Brady affected the NFL. LeBron James has affected NBA. Sports are more pussified now, Ben, than they ever were.
You're right. You're right. Hey, the All-Star game, all these All-Star games are a prime example. I mean, and I said this on Snowman Show. It is geared towards kids at this point. It's not geared towards us, because if it was geared towards us, it would be actual competition, and it wouldn't just be alley-oops and bouncing the ball off the backboard and trying to basically play NBA jams. That's essentially what they're doing. So, yeah, these things aren't geared towards us anymore, and we're kind of like the old man, get off my lawn type situation, which I didn't want to be that person, because my dad was that person when he was talking to me about sports, and now I'm that person talking to other people about sports. But I think it's just a different era you grew up in. You expect a certain level, and when you don't get that, you'll be pissed off.
Not 100% agree with you on that one. Not going to debate that one. We are definitely on the same page with that there, sir. With that being said, guys, we've gone through one great round so far on the show. Let us know what you think here in the comments, and we'll acknowledge those comments at the midway point of the show. With that being said, let's go ahead and take this into round two, see what we got in store for that one.
Round two.
Here with round two, an NFL team you know quite well there, sir. The Dallas Cowboys will regress in 2023 with Mike McCarthy calling offensive plays. How do you agree with this one? Do you agree or disagree, actually? Are you in or are you out with this statement?
I am out with this statement. And I'll say that I'm out because I think it's going to be exactly the same as it was last year. I don't think it's going to regress, and I don't think it's going to be any better. And I think that McCarthy is getting the keys handed to him because there was probably some complaining about Kellen Moore. So the Joneses said, okay, well, we're going to give you the keys, and let's see what you can do with it. And I think it's going to be exactly the same. I don't think it's going to be any better or any worse. And honestly, just the way this team is organized, if they're not adding more pieces, then it's definitely going to be equal to last year.
Absolutely. There's parts with this that I agree with you on this. However, for the sake of debate, it is time for me to disagree, my man. I'm going in. Now, if you could tell on that license plate behind me, Virginia, and you could probably tell that potentially that's got a formerly known as the REDSKINS logo on there, but it's so far back you can't see it. It's blurred out. It doesn't matter. If it can't see it, doesn't exist till I just said something. Okay. Now, what I do have on my arm is a half sleeve on my arm that also has potentially what is also on that license plate, formerly known as REDSKINS. I'm a relic. It happened before everything changed. Doesn't matter. His grandfather did. But back to what we were saying when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys. Okay. Yes. I like the Washington team, so we are rivals. However, you're about to meet the realest guy in the room because I'm going to sit here and tell you that I will talk just as much smack. It's about my team. As you can see, the DC Defenders throwing lemons at their team on the XFL game Sunday night. DC is passionate about their football and DC sports, and I have to give it to that. Now, back to the topic at hand when it comes to Mike McCarthy, okay? I just had to give a little background so that way you see where I'm coming from when it comes to talking legitimacy about this Cowboys team. Now, yes, for the sake of debate, I did disagree with what you said because I feel like what this mother father has as far as a record when it comes to this guy, Mike McCarthy. This team was 12-5 last year, 12-5 BS3. And what did you do in the playoffs? You led nothing. You want to blame it on Kellen Moore. Well, Kellen Moore was there before you even got there. Okay, he was part of the coaching staff previously. Jerry Jones wanted to keep on. Now, is that Mike McCarthy's fault? No, because old Jerry wanted to keep him around. If you do exactly the same as to what you said this year, there's no progression. They're seeing regression at that point because you still didn't match anything higher than what we had previously with a different coach and offensive coordinator. And Kellen Moore, who was a pretty decent backup, and usually the backups like Frank Wright and now Kellen Moore are the ones that actually get the decent opportunities in coaching as they get noticed because they're the ones sitting on the bench gathering up all this coaching knowledge while not starting on the field. So when I put it 2 and 2 together and I look at Mike McCarthy's background, I don't really see a lot of that with what he had. He got lucky and had a legend in Brett Favre, the man with the overhand pass, the man that I don't want to say too much about because I don't want to be a part of that list like Pat McAfee, Shannon Sharp right now. So I want to be nice to old Brett Favre. But when I think about everything in perspective, you're Mike, mother, father, and McCarthy, and you have Brett Favre, and you have Aaron Rodgers, and now you have Dak Prescott, who not enough people give him his flowers because he is talented. He's just had some S for brains as far as some coaching. When you got Chucky is the closest thing to Chucky we've seen as far as a coach. You don't want to say Chucky for John Gruden. I'll say Jason Garrett was more like Chucky because of how he was out there scaring people on the field. He was scaring more people with his looks of frustration or constipation because the team was playing in bad spots because he was trying to figure out how to get past it. But he couldn't because the man in the office, or Jerry Jones, was looking down upon. I think the only way that this team is going to progress is if maybe Jerry gets some of his claws out of this team, because I feel like that letting go of Kellen Moore and bringing in Brian Schottenheimer? You think he's going to do better than Kellen Moore? No, he's basically going to be a scapegoat for the offensive coordinator, and you're going to have Mike McCarthy calling the majority of the plays, and it's going to be the same situation of how things panned out in Green Bay, and everybody's going to look bad.
Yeah, and I'm agreeing with you partly, but I'll say this. This organization is no longer ran by Jerry. It is ran by his son, Steven, who doesn't want to spend money, who's afraid to take those risks that Jerry used to do back in the day. But to your point, they're not going to fire the family. It is the Dallas Jones Cowboys. They're not going to fire the family. So it is always going to be in the family. And I think that is a major part of the issue. When it comes down to McCarthy, I agree with you there too, that he's had some great quarterbacks. This is a challenge for him because Dak is not either one of those guys. I don't think he'll ever be one of those guys. I think he is good. I'm not going to say great. I think there are times when he makes bad decisions, especially with the game on the line. And if you look at back-to-back years, playing the 49ers in the same situations, and they lose the game in embarrassing fashion twice. That is partly on Dak. I got to give him more of the blame than I'm going to give anybody else because he's the one that had the ball in his hands. If he felt like there was a different play that needed to be made, call a timeout, try to make a different play. Don't try to go quarterback sneak when you know you don't have time, call a timeout. And don't run a dumb play when you're trying to pass the ball to my man Turpin when there's no possible way anything could happen. So there's a lot of game management issues that this team goes through, and that falls 100% on McCarthy. And I don't think that's going to change either. So this year is going to be equal to last year. Sadly.
And you bring up a very great point with the game management issues because one of the biggest things we heard about McCarthy was clock management when he was in Green Bay.
Yep.
And he has made some similar mistakes in his tenure with the Cowboys. I don't feel like it's been quite as bad because I feel like he was making a lot more clock management mistakes back when he was in Green Bay. But you took a year off, bro. You took a year off. And you were supposed to, I remember watching some ESPN documentary thing or whatever. It was like some 15 minutes, whatever. And you got Mike McCarthy in the basement of his house, but he was still living in Green Bay. And he's talking about in a barn. Yeah, in a barn. There he goes, a red barn. Yes. And he's in the barn with some of his like old coaches or some colleagues or whatever. And he's trying to figure out where he went wrong and how he revolutionized his game plan. But your game plan doesn't look like it's revolutionized at all. You're looking more like a fraud. I'm sorry, not you, Ben, but you're hurting Cowboys fans. And we could have potentially seen some greatness this year if my team didn't decide to start Carson Wentz in week 17 and lose that game. We could have seen all 4 teams make the freaking playoffs in the NFC East.
And we did a show called the NFC Beast. Me, Wise, you probably know Cool McCain, Sam Shady. And on that show the entire season, we were all on the bandwagon of you need to start Heineke. He was the best chance for them to win. And what did they do? They started Carson Wentz and it went horribly. And then they say, oh, we're going to bring him back and start him again. I didn't understand that part at all. And I think that definitely cost them. But yeah, Jerry or the Jones family got enamored by this whole barn promo. I mean, they just got enamored, like, well, we have to get this guy. He's studying film in a barn. It doesn't matter if you're studying film in a barn, in a garage, in a gym. If you're not a good coach and you don't manage the games well, you're still gonna lose. So they got got. Okay, they got jacked.
They did.
And now there's and now they're I'm not gonna say they're stuck with him, but this organization, I've said this numerous times, they do not like change. That's the same reason why they continue to sign players that are washed. They continue to sign them, continue to keep them around, even though they can't truly contribute. That was Zeke this year, which they got to make a tough decision on that. But I think Zeke's done. I mean, there's no reason why you bring a guy back that's averaging three yards per carry, and he's your short down back. Who needs a short down back? You can get somebody off the street. You can draft somebody as a short down back. So this organization just does not want to come in this century. They want to just continue to do things, banging their heads up against the wall, hoping things will change, and that's not how things work.
Yeah, Zeke's been getting paid more than a short down back. You know, he's been getting paid as the prime runner, and without Tony Pollard, every time you see Tony Pollard out, like he's useless without having Tony Pollard there to kind of soak it up a little bit for him and share the load. But you brought up Mike McCarthy's promo in a way that I feel like you should look at his promo dead in the eye and say this.
You should know your role and shut your mouth.
That's exactly how I feel.
Better than film in a barn. That's what we should have said. Yeah.
And if Chris Jericho could pop out, he'd look at him and say this.
Would you please shut the hell up?
That's a great one. That's a great one.
And take it back to the Attitude Era for the fans. Guys, let us know in the comments how you feel about those first 2 rounds. Before we take it into round 3, I'm going to show a little promo for a show that I do with the Snowman here on Mondays. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the Sports Senseis Unleashed, which you can check out on Mondays currently at 1:05 p.m. Eastern Time on Snowman Multimedia. We just had episode 10 this week as well. Feel free to check that out on Snowman Multimedia right after this show. And with that being said, guys, we've gone through 2 rounds so far on this show. Let's go ahead and take it into round 3 and see what we got in store for that one.
Round 3.
And here with round 3, this one's for you, Snowman. Becoming the NBA's all-time scoring leader does not make LeBron James the greatest of all time. Lead it off there, Ben. How do you feel? Are you in or are you out on this one?
I am I-E-N. I'm in on this one. Yeah, so it's an interesting conversation because obviously, yes, he does have the most points. But is he the all-time great? No. I think that Jordan, to me, is the all-time great. But I think it does depend on era. As I get older, I'm starting to realize that my parents or my dad's GOAT is not going to be Jordan or LeBron. It's probably going to be Dr. J. It's probably going to be Bill Russell. So depending on what era that you lived in, your GOAT is probably going to be different. Kids now, they think LeBron is the GOAT. People a little bit younger than me think Kobe's the GOAT. So no, this does not make him the GOAT. I think he is an exceptional talent, but to me, he is not the GOAT. I don't think he'll get there. And I think when it comes down to it, people don't like to talk about this, but the fact that he lost that many finals has to count for something. And the fact that Jordan led a team to the finals and went undefeated has to count for something. And that's my thoughts.
Absolutely. And, I can't help but to agree with this as well. I'm in on this as well. Without driving this into the ground way too much, because I love you, Snowman, but this is not Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday of your show. This is my mother-fathering show, damn it. This is my show. And on my show, we talk about LeBron when necessary. And I felt like it was necessary to talk about this with my man BS3 because I wanted to get his take on how he felt about LeBron. Now, you and I, Snowman, know that I call him LeBust. L-E-B-U-S-T. Okay? You call the fans of him bronzesexuals. Okay? And I cannot disagree with that whatsoever because I will call them bronzesexuals too. And absolutely, I have been calling people bronzesexuals in public when I hear them praising their king. Okay? But it will always and forever be known when it comes to the NBA that things are generational talents. There's different generations, just like Ben said. You got the Michael Jordan era. You got the Kobe era. Now you got the LeBron era. Before that, you had Magic Johnson and Larry Bird era. Then you had the Kareem era, which we saw that record last for over 30 years. Let me tell you this, LeBust, as I go back to describing why I don't agree with this topic. Well, I do agree with this topic, but why I disagree on the fact that LeBron is not the greatest. Had Kareem not gone to college for 4 years, the man went to college for 4 years and still played in the league long enough to score that many points. If he had not gone to school that long, if Michael Jeffrey Jordan didn't spend 3 years at Ben's favorite team, UNC, okay, then he would have gotten even more points too, because we still would have figured out who Michael Jeffrey Jordan was. And especially in that, we already knew how Lou Alcindor was before he became Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. So you give the man an extra 3 great years on top of what he could have had without the college degree. I'm telling you, LeBron would never have made it. And not on top of that, LeBron would not have survived in the game of basketball before the era that he was in because of how physical it was. Just like Tom Brady made the NFL more pussified, as we covered in round 1, LeBron made the NBA more pussified in that league. So you want to tell me that someone who had more of an impact to the league like Jordan than LeBron, who didn't change that many impactful rules into how the game was played, you barely touch somebody, you barely touch LeBron, he's flopping on the ground. That's why back in 2010, they had the Flappy Birds game, and they made the parody called Floppy LeBron. They had Floppy LeBron you could download on your Android device. And me as a sports fanatic, I downloaded that game, and I had it on my devices until Google took it away from me. And I'm disappointed in you, LeBron, because you took away one of my favorite games of all time outside of Madden and NBA Jam. It was Floppy LeBron, because you had your little cry face with the bandana in Miami, crying as you were flopping on the ground. And I missed that game. So back to the point, you are not the GOAT, and that's how I feel about that, BS3.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. I don't think he is. And again, I'll go back to the point that he may be the generation under us. He may be their GOAT because that's all that they know, unless they go look up highlights on YouTube or somewhere. But I think that point that he came out of high school, obviously that has to factor in. And the fact that he's played so long at a high level, yes, he's going to break the record. Unless bearing any type of injury that he would have had, that would have kept him out for a season, he would have broke the record. So to me, it's not a surprise. It's not a dig at all at LeBron, but it makes sense that he would be the one to break this because he's played for so long and he's done it as a high level and he's done it not playing defense. Let's not play around and think he's a top defender. So that all of that stuff factors in as to him getting this scoring title. But no, he's not the GOAT. I think he's definitely a top 5. I think I would definitely put him in that category. But to say the GOAT, I think it's too many factors that will not allow me to put him.
Absolutely. Like, we both agree wholeheartedly on that one. But I had to get animated for Snowman without having a heart attack because of his disapproval of LeBron as not being the GOAT. And I agree with that on so many different levels. But I wanted to do that without taking an entire episode on doing it because I love you, Snowman. But we have to keep things in a window on the Inner House Sports Debate. And I believe that we definitely did that. Thank you again for that take there, Ben. As we've gone through 3 rounds so far on this show, before we go into the medial mayhem, which is where we get the comments from the fans, let's go ahead and take a quick commercial break.
This episode of the In or Out Sports Debate is brought to you by Peanut Butter and Jealous. When you're feeling a little blue based on what others are doing around you, spread a little peanut butter and jealous on your sandwich to make yourself feel whole again.
Head to your grandma's cupboard and grab a big old glass, big old jar, big old mason jar full of peanut butter and jealous. You can share it with a friend up top. You can not stick your finger down your throat like the guy down below. You can enjoy some peanut butter and jealous. Get your life back on track. With that being said, guys, we have now gone through 3 great rounds on this show. Let's go ahead and take this into the medial mayhem and see what we got from the comments from the fans. Ben, at this point in the show, I like to acknowledge the fans because, like you were talking about earlier with going to StreamYard, and now you can go live and being able to interact with the fans. I love to get their take on what's going on so far within this show. And so far, my man Rick is here, says, what's up? Well, what's up, Rick? Thank you for joining us here this evening. NC might not even make the NIT.
Yeah. Ooh, that's going to hurt, but yeah, I could see it happening.
You know what, man, I'm sorry, Rick, but whether it's this year or next, UNC is looking straight at the NCAA tournament, and they're saying this.
I'll be back.
That's right, Rick. They are coming back at some point.
Yeah, the worst and best line of all time. and I'll say this too. I've been a North Carolina fan my whole life, and they're always either in it or will be in it the next year. They're always rebuilding. They'll always have top recruits. So say they don't make it this year, next year they'll be back. They got top talent coming in every year.
They definitely got time with that. My man Ike is in the building. Ike doesn't give a fuck is here and says, what's up, fellas? Well, Ike, ever since you started commenting, I love your name, brother. Keep it going strong out there in these streets. UNC is done. Well, so far, 2 guys between Rick and Ike are saying that they are done because Rick doesn't even have them making the NIT, and Ike just straight shatters our dreams and says that they are done.
Yeah.
Bring Parcells back, Jerry. Dude, Bill Parcells is like 88 years old and a pacemaker away from not getting up tomorrow. Like, he is not going to come coach.
And Jerry's not willing to give away the power or give because real quick, Peyton was available. He was there. And obviously they've been linked for years, and they didn't even sniff. I don't think they even had a conversation because Sean knew and Jerry knew that they weren't giving up power.
Absolutely, because they did have their opportunity to bring him in while they had the chance. Oh, I missed round 1. Am I going off on UNC? Yes. Yes, Pisco, you definitely missed the fireworks from round 1. Go back and check it in syndication as we are now the midway point. But thank you for being here, Paul. Appreciate it. Dak is a terrible decision maker. How do you feel about that, Ben? Because you were just praising him in the round 2. What's your response to him saying that?
I think he's a terrible decision maker in crunch moments. I think that's when it matters most. It doesn't matter, week 14 against Jacksonville, even though you threw a pick 6, but that really doesn't matter. It matters when you're in the playoffs in the divisional round and you can't score in the second half when you were clearly in that game. That's when it matters, and he is a terrible decision maker when the game's on the line in crucial moments.
Now, when you're paying him what you're paying him, after him crying about the contract, and do you think that he gets paid to not be able to make those decisions in those crunch moments?
Nope.
Because he sure as hell gets paid as somebody who should be able to make those decisions. He does.
And a lot of Cowboys fans, including myself, when you're watching the game, you're like, all right, it's 1 minute left. This is why you get paid what you get paid. And then when the result ends up being that you don't win the game at all, you don't even score a touchdown. That pisses off Cowboys fans because you're making top dollar, yes, and you're using up a lot of the cap. So either you take a pay cut or you deliver, and I think that's what makes Cowboys fans upset, especially in crunch moments.
Hey man, we got 17 games of the season now. The 2 games, I just want you to make those decisions as bad decisions during 2 games of the year when you play the Washington Commanders. I hate that name. That's why I call them the Commies.
Yeah,
okay,
Commies.
they're the Washington Commies. Because I hate that song, Left Hand Up, Who Are We, the Commanders. I hate it. I hate it, Ben. It is absolute
and Commander Teddy. Is it Teddy? I think it's Teddy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why, like, if Snowman comes out with the old name, I at least are going to be respectful enough to be like Prince and be like the Washington, formerly known as the REDSKINS.
Yes.
And spell it out, because that way, you already know what I'm saying, and I'm already grandfathered in with all this up to here to the shoulder, so we'll go into that another day. But, guys, terrible decision maker. We agree with you there, Paul, on that one. I hate to correct you, but it's pronounced Cowgirls, not Cowboys. I will accept fan base of crybabies. Joseph Raymond is in the house. Joey Raymond, 14-time Vault of Fame inductee. Welcome back there, Joey. Thank you for being here for the comments there, brother. I appreciate you. Cowboys will mirror the progress from last year.
I agree, Paul.
Yeah. Jerry Jones equals Dan Snyder. Rick, I'll actually say Jerry Jones is better than Dan Snyder. He's a 3-time Super Bowl champion. So I gotta give.
I wouldn't say that.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm the realest one in the room when it comes to acknowledging stuff with Washington. If I gotta be the one that says no, Jerry Jones equals Dan Snyder, oh hell no, that is not valid. There, Rick. Mike the Jabroni McCarthy.
I love this. I was laughing in my head when I was looking at this comment. That's greatness.
Also, you need to switch that out with North Carolina jersey for a Virginia Tech jersey stats. Joseph, get out of here with that Homer stuff. Virginia.
That's never happening, bro. That's never happening.
It absolutely does not make him the GOAT, Paul says. Yes, we definitely all agree with that. And now Melvin is here, and Melvin says Braun is GOAT. No, Melvin. You need to get that on out of here. Triple H, like you stared down to Shawn Michaels saying this.
Liar!
We're going to have to resurrect Bishop Bullwinkle to say this.
Damn!
Wrong button.
Hell to the no, to the no, no. Hell no, to the no.
Sorry, I got trigger happy fans, but sometimes you just can't.
You can't handle the truth.
These are snowflakes.
Yeah. Bishop Bullwinkle, thank you for that clip. Thank you.
I had to, man.
Yeah.
Anytime, yeah. Bishop Bullwinkle is the man when it comes to that. Rest in peace, there, Bishop. Melvin says, "Come on, guys." Disagrees with what we were saying at that time frame. Ike is trolling him, saying, "What, Melvin?" Followed by MJ always says, "Ike." Well, thank you for trolling Melvin there. Ike, because you agree with what we had to say. I will say it was an awesome moment to witness, no doubt, but was Kareem the GOAT before?
That's a really good question. And it depends on who you are and did you see Kareem play? Because some people, Kareem is their GOAT. Some people it is. But I do think, to Paul's point, I do think it's a small percentage because he does not get talked about a lot. He get talked about more about the hook shot than he get talked about being the GOAT.
Absolutely. And Paul agrees what you had to say. I mean, Rick agrees after that, saying Ben is right. Each generation has their own GOAT. Yeah, Rick, you hit that on the head with that. Ben was definitely spot on with that too. It was an awesome moment to witness, no doubt, but was Kareem the GOAT before? The answer is no. So he answered his own rhetorical question that he had asked just a moment beforehand. LaCrybaby is a joke. Yeah, I mean, yes, he is a floppy LeBron. Jordan went to college and retired for 2 years. Laugh out loud. Absolutely, he definitely did.
Yep, you forget
Listen
about that.
Yeah, no, he definitely did. Then came back. And yes, the first season he came back, it was only like 30 or 40 games. Some people don't want to count it, but it still counts. He didn't win that year. But the next year, he was fueled and ready to go and started that three-peat all over again. So when you look at the baseball break and then with what he did before he came back in 2001, that's some great times. So and that was actually a 3-year break, if I remember, almost like with when he came back the last time. So listen to Basketball by Curtis Blow. Absolutely, Rick. They're playing basketball. Yeah, we all know that song. And it was, I think it was on like NBA 2K14.
Yeah, it was on something
like that.
Yeah,
it was on one of those, but I'd still know it from back in the day because whether it's NBC or ABC around the playoff time before things got bigger in the early 90s. I remember them playing it one year for a promo video. I'm dated, dude. I'm dated. I remember that. But UNC is going to be invited to the NIT, laughing my mother, father, and peach off.
Yeah, I hope not. I would rather them not make anything than play in the NIT. The NIT is like the stepbrother of tournaments, and it may not even be on TV.
You're nicer than me. I was going to say redheaded stepchild because not invited tournament is what it's always stood for. You are the one that's left out of the family photo at Christmas time.
Yep.
Because you ate all the candy corn at Halloween. Yep. Yeah, you're getting screwed, bro. And that's how it feels when you're in the NIT tournament. UNC actually playing well now, Ben. I mean,
thank you.
Well,
maybe me talking about them.
Maybe it was because when we were talking about them. Yeah, you're absolutely right because when we were talking about them, they were down by 6 to Notre Dame. They're actually up by 1 point with 13:32 left to go in this half. So good call out on that one. Peace go. And Brian Williams is here and says, good evening. Well, good evening to you there, brother. Thank you for being here, for being a commenter on the show. Keep it going, guys, with the comments. We'll acknowledge them here at the end once we get through these next 2 rounds. As we've gone through the first 3 rounds, now the media mayhem for this first point of the show. Let's go ahead and take it into one of the favorite ones of this show and take it to the By the Numbers segment, which we have here for round 4.
Round 4.
And here for round 4 for this By the Numbers, episode 80. Jerry Rice is the greatest athlete to ever wear the number 80 in all of sports history. How do you feel about this one, Ben? Do you agree with the topic at hand? Are you in or are you out on this one?
I am in. And here's my reasoning. I actually looked up players with the number 80, and none of them are even close to what Jerry Rice has done. Obviously, coming out of Mississippi Valley State, playing for the 49ers all those years. Yes, he had great quarterbacks. But he was an exceptional route runner, great hands, and he made the rest of the team great. So to me, yeah, he is the all-time great number 80. I don't think anyone's close. I don't think anyone will be close because of the longevity and amount of time that he did it, and even doing it with the Raiders after his time with the 49ers. So yeah, Jerry Rice is the greatest number 8.
Just like you said, looking into it, you're trying to find someone that comes even relatively close to debate this topic just for the sake of debate. And in this case, I got to agree with you on this as well. I'm in too. And Ben said it best, the longevity. When you look at this man, he played all those years, the 49ers from 1985 to 2000. Played for the Raiders for a few seasons as well, from 01 to 04. Went to the Seattle Seahawks during that 2004 in a trade. But Ben, before I go into the rest of my rant, do you remember what his final team was that he actually almost played for, but left during the practice squad or left during the training camp? There was a team that he signed for in 2005.
The Bills?
No, but it was on ESPN 2K5, the game that had T.O. on the cover when he was in the Eagles jersey. One of the very few games that ESPN 2K5 came out. He signed and was part of the preseason Denver Broncos 2005. Was number 19 because I remember that was one of the last games that came out before the rosters were updated on the internet.
Yeah,
and you could be him throughout that season on there, and that was actually one of my favorite football games. But I'll get back into that here in a second. When it comes to Jerry Rice, greatest to ever wear 80, because when you think about the other ones in comparison, like Ben was saying, you got Steve Largent, who I would probably say would be the second best. He played from 76 to 89, was a fourth-round draft pick in 1976 by the Houston Oilers and had one hell of a career. That's Steve Largent. James Lofton, the wide receiver from 78 to 93, was another great one to wear number 80 as well. And on fourth on my list, I would say, would probably be Chris Carter, who played with the Minnesota Vikings. And then, of course, was part of that legendary 98 team where Randy Moss is an up-and-comer, and they had a chance to make it to the Super Bowl and then laid a major egg in the playoffs. But we won't even go down that route because this is Jerry Rice's time right now, my man. When you think about what he did, as a three-time Super Bowl champion, a one-time Super Bowl MVP within those three Super Bowls, a two-time NFL Offensive Player of the Year in 87 and 93, a 10-time first-team All-Pro in 86 to 90, 92 to 96, second-team All-Pro in 2002. In 2002, Ben, at the age of 40, Jerry Rice was a second-team All-Pro at 40. Now, this is before Tom Brady and cucumber yogurt or whatever the father that he was taking to keep on playing until he was 45 years old. When you think about Jerry Rice in that game of football, in that time frame, in 2002, to be 40 years old and to get second-team All-Pro in the position that he played at wideout, give it to my man, even though Darryl Green, of the formerly known as REDSKINS, was probably faster than him at that time in 2002, but he was still around. Old DG was still around in 2002. But back to Jerry Rice. Best to wear at number 80 because he leaves San Francisco. They're saying he's done. Leaves in the year 2000, his last season. Goes to the Raiders, and the first year helps lead the team to the freaking Super Bowl. Now, they did get decimated by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but that game we could debate in history of neither here nor there. You still got the team do the dance. Jerry Rice did it. You got to give it to our man Jerry, ESPN 2K5, and him being on the Denver Broncos, damn it.
Yeah, 100%. And he holds 5 records. Most career receptions, most career receiving yards, most receiving touchdowns, and most career total touchdowns. The longevity. And a quick story. I grew up in the Bay Area. My dad somehow got tickets to a charity game, and I'm a kid. And Jerry Rice gives me a high five as I'm sitting down. I'm like, I'm never, ever going to wash his hand. Obviously, I washed my hand when I got home.
But you were mad to do it. You didn't want to, but you
I was
had
not washing that hand. I don't care. But the greatness of Jerry Rice, man, I don't know. I was just looking up stats, and there's not anyone close. I mean, the closest is like Devontae Adams, but that's like 400. I think it's receptions is what he's close in. DeAndre Hopkins is close, but it's still 300 to 400. So Jerry is just in a class of his own, and I think just the work that he put in on the field and off the field, it showed.
Absolutely. And just even back then, when you take Tom Brady out of the equation and you just rewind 20 years, 2003, a year after he did it, when he was second team All-Pro as the year at the age of 40, okay? Not many people had played at a high caliber position and been that productive at the age of 40.
Second team is still no joke because you're still part of one of the best in the game to still be a part of a league that's the best in the entire game of football. And you at the age of 40 on a team you have your first year with the team in Oakland and to get second team All-Pro, that is a huge accomplishment for someone at the age of 40 who the 49ers said were done the year before, and they were giving him – I remember that final game he was in. I was only like 13 years old when this happened. So I'm not too old, but when I look at it, I still remember it because I remember that last game in 49ers, he scored a touchdown, and they had a big celebration for him at the end of the game, like pretty much saying it was his swan song at the end of it. And that man goes to Oakland the next year, tears it up, helps lead them to the Super Bowl, and gets second team All-Pro along the way.
Yeah.
So it was great story for Jerry Rice, and he hung around a little bit too long there at the end, but nobody remembers that as they remember what he did throughout all the stats that we laid out for you guys. Let us know here in the comments what you think about our round 4, and if you agree with that for the By the Numbers segment here of Jerry Rice was the best to wear number 80. Before we go into the final round, let's go ahead and take a look at a little promo for another weekly show we got going on.
LegacyMaker, the All Sports Network, presents a SIRTOBA media production where the struggle is real to be awesome.
What? I'm better than you. And you know it.
Ladies and gentlemen, that right there is the Kayfabe Express, which you can find here on a regular basis on the LegacyMaker Sports Network. Last night, Roman Reigns' cousin, Lance Anawayi, was here for episode 3 as it was live. You can go back and see some great things we discussed within that episode as part of the Bloodline was in the studio. Guys, with that being said, we've gone through 4 great rounds of this show. Let's go ahead and see what we've got in store for the final round.
Final round.
Here, Ben, for the final round, let's take it back to the Bay Area once more and talk about Brock Purdy proved that he deserves to be the 49ers starting quarterback for next season. How do you feel about this one here, man? Do you agree with the statement at hand? Are you in or are you out on this one?
I'm in. I think to be at where he was drafted and to come in and to play at the level that he did, he definitely deserves to be the starter. I think out of those 2 young quarterbacks, he's the only one that really got a long period of time to play. And he's in a great system. Like let's not play around and think that what Shanahan is able to do is a huge factor, because it is. It's a huge factor. And he really put it in what Purdy's able to handle. But I definitely think he deserves to be the starter. He's shown it in the playoffs. He's shown it in the regular season. He's shown it. I think obviously he's going to need some more training and is going to need some more growth. But I think throughout this entire season that he played, he 100% deserves it. Will he actually be the starter is another story, because you have Trey Lance there, which they drafted him for a purpose. So that is going to be a very interesting conversation, but I definitely think he has earned it.
We're at that point in the show where we are at the final round and going back and forth with this. And for the sake of debate and comedic relief for our fans, I'm out! The BS3, when I go back and forth with this, I might wake up tomorrow and be like, Drew, you were a fool and you disagree with what you were just saying on this show. But in this moment, at 10:32 p.m. Eastern, 9:32 p.m. Central Time, in this moment, Ben, I got to say out. When you think about what this team has invested
in Trey Lance. When you think about a man who just retired, who's from the Bay Area and could flip a switch within a 30 to 40-day period like he did last year, and that being one Thomas Edward Patrick Brady II. And I didn't have a heart attack when I said that. Thank you, Jesus. But when you think about what I just said, Thomas Edward Patrick Brady II could decide, hey, I want to come out of retirement. And what team is in better shape when you got Brock, who needs some time to recover because of that little throwing motion problem that he had from getting hurt in that NFC Championship game. You got Trey Lance, who's a big old question mark because he can't play more than 2 to 3 games without getting banged up sitting on the bench. You got Jimmy G, who they have said they are completely done with this guy, even though when he is healthy, Jimmy G has brought that Jimmy G magic to this team. They wouldn't be in the position they were in this year had it not been with old one Jimmy G. Okay. Now, Brock Purdy did come in and play like a stud. Now, I have to give it up for Brock. And with all the comedic relief aside, in the 9 games he played, he started 5 of them. It was 114 of 170 for 1,374 yards, averaging 8 yards per throw, which is awesome for a rookie, especially who was drafted as a Mr. Irrelevant. 13 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. Only sacked 11 times with a QBR as a Mr. Irrelevant rookie at 107.3. And on 22 rushing attempts, he had 13 yards, 0.6 yards, 1 touchdown. But I'm not going to take that away from my man because of what he did in the pocket and what he did as a quarterback, as a Mr. Irrelevant quarterback. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, Drew, you're giving a lot of mother, father, and praise for somebody that you just said that you're out on. Yes, I absolutely am, for one of the first times in the history of this 80-episode show. But when I go back to what I just said, before that, you invested all this money into Trey Lance. He's a higher-rated pick. The exact opposite of what you have for Brock Purdy. You still have them both under contract this season. If Trey Lance is healthy and you got Brock Purdy that's coming off the elbow injury that looks like it could be close to Tommy John surgery, even though they're saying that it's not, but you still don't want to play around with that. And you have somebody of the caliber of one Thomas Edward Patrick Brady II, who is taking a year off from Fox Sports to probably say to himself, he's saying family, but what if Thomas Edward Patrick Brady II wakes up in July and says, I want to play a football game, but Tampa Bay's already moved on and made their decision. What's one of the places where he can just kind of slide in and steal one more Super Bowl? That is his Bay Area hometown team. And Snowman doesn't want to admit it, and you might not want to admit it, but I feel like there is a dark cloud looming over this team, and it could be one Thomas Edward Patrick Brady II.
I think Tommy's done. I think his age showed, especially in that playoff game. He did not look like Tom Brady that we know. So I think he's done. But I think this 49ers organization, I think what we're realizing is it is a great system. I'm not going to say anybody, but I'm going to say just about anybody could be a quarterback in this system. You got Mr. Irrelevant. They had obviously Jimmy G. Jimmy G wasn't great, but he was great for this system. And it proved because they went on runs. And I think Trey Lance would be, I don't think any quarterback that is above average will be great for this system, because Shanahan is a coach that will put his players in a position to win and put them in the best position, not overextend what they're not able to do. You didn't see a lot of down field passes when Purdy was starting. There was a lot of short passes, a lot of using Debo, a lot. And when they picked up McCaffrey, I mean, at that point you knew that it was over, because that gave them even more ability to be able to run the ball, with a two-headed monster. So I think the 49ers are simply a great system. And I think if it's Brock Purdy or Trey Lance, I think they're going to still be successful.
So you're talking about any quarterback can kind of plug in there. You think someone like Ryan Tannehill or even a Marcus Mariota, or ones of the bottom end of the totem pole, can come in and do things like Brock Purdy did?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they don't need that person to win them the game. They just need that person to not make mistakes. And that's what Brock Purdy did, especially in that game against the Cowboys. There was opportunities where it could have been interceptions, but he did not make any turnovers. If there was a turnover, I'm confident that the defense might have been able to pull that out, but there was no turnovers. There was no key turnovers in that game that kind of flipped, the switch. for the Cowboys.
I agree with almost everything you said except for Marcus Mariota because of how he played in Atlanta. I cannot sign off on that one because we saw Mr. Irrelevant do better than what one Marcus Mariota did this year in Atlanta. So that's everything you said was spot on except for acknowledging the Marcus Mariota. I give it to Ryan Tannehill for what he's done for the Braves there in Tennessee. But when it comes to Mariota, they already kicked him out in favor of Ryan Tannehill. And look at what he stunk up in Atlanta. That one part I disagree on, but everything else, I feel like you were spot on with that, my man. But we've killed it, guys. 5 rounds of this show. And before we get to the part where we acknowledge the comments from the fans, I feel like we got to acknowledge something for old Ben here for this part of the Vault of Fame.
Acknowledge me.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is that time of the show to acknowledge that BS3, Ben Sudderth III, is now locked in the vault with episode 80 of the Inner-House Sports Debate. Joins the likes of the contestants here on this leaderboard with Joey Raymond in first, Rob Johnson in second, Darrell Owens, James Brown, and Corey Mann in third. Brian H. Waters, Cody Stewart, Dwayne Allen, Kyle Nash, Michael Bish, P. Alexander Wiley, Brian Snow, and Lamont Thomas tied for fourth, and we got 7 panelists tied for 2 appearances apiece, and hopefully we can add BS3 to that mix again at some point in the future because I've had a blast with this man here. Thank you again for your time there, brother, as we acknowledge that you are now a Vault of Fame inductee as part of this show. Up next, you can find on the Inner-House Sports Debate the Enter the Boom Shakalaka edition on Friday, 2:15 p.m. Eastern, 1:15 p.m. Central Time. Chris Bass of Baseline, and as well as Snowman in the Morning, is here for episode 81 of the Inner-House Sports Debate. And just as we said earlier, you can go back and check the Kayfabe Express episode 3 with Lance and Hawaii that we had last night on the LegacyMaker Sports Network handles here for Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, and the new TikTok channel, and the latest in action of sports at LegacyMakerSports.com. Check out the Inner-House Sports Debate on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and Twitch, as well as the audio platforms on the Apple and Google Podcast, Spotify, Amazon Prime, Anchor.fm. You can download these episodes individually on iTunes. The struggle is real to be awesome. The video production brand behind the shenanigans that I'm bringing you now live for SIRTOBA Media, which you can check out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and the YouTube channel coming soon that I've been saying for quite some time, but bear with me. If it takes 9 months for a child to be born, it could take 9 months for my YouTube channel to be born as well. SIRTOBA.com for the latest action with my shenanigans in video production. Again, Mondays is where you can check out the Sports Sensations Unleashed on Snowman Multimedia. If you want to donate a stoic D Willie buck, $10 bill right here to the cash.app/DWillie87. Hook me up a little tippy if you must. That is for the production rates of this brand. Guys, we are here for episode 80. I don't know how I breathed through that, but I was breathing while I was talking. I promise, with my man BS3 here for episode 80, man. It has been a blast, man. I've had a great time with you. Thank you for being here on this great evening.
Yeah, man. Thank you for reaching out. And it was great to be on. I love the concept, and I definitely enjoyed it. And I would love to come back.
Hey, anytime, man. We do have a couple more things left before we pan on out of here. The fans lit it up in this chat while we were going off. We got to acknowledge the mayhem culmination before we head on out of here. Let's see what they got to say. Comments from the fans. What you guys got up your sleeve? Let's get ready. Oh, well. Okay. So where did we leave off? Okay, so the first one was Goldfinger is a GOAT. Well, Rick, you are definitely on some special juice tonight. Thank you for that. Goldfinger is a GOAT. What's up, says Courtney Harden. Appreciate you joining us or whatnot. I guess that is a BS3 fan or whatnot because I have never seen Courtney before. So thank you for tuning in for your first time here on the Inner-House Sports Debate. I appreciate you. Steve Largent or Kellen Winslow are the only ones that come to me.
Yeah, those are the two names that I pulled up, and they're still not close to Jerry.
Yeah, I mean, no, I agree with Ben here. I even brought up Steve Largent and Chris Carter. I didn't bring up Kellen Winslow earlier. Brought up James Lofton instead of Kellen Winslow, but still, Kellen Winslow was still big back in the day for the Chargers in the '80s. So I mean, yeah, he was a great tight end, but his son was trash. A Pizzle, fan of the Snowman in the Morning Show, is here to say, hey, what's up there, A Pizzle? Thank you for joining in and joining in the comments. I appreciate you there, brother. Ike is even loving it. Ike says A Pizzle is hype about A Pizzle being there. Jerry Rice was okay.
Blasphemous.
That is absolute blasphemous. And when I think about that, Stephen A. Smith comes to mind.
Stay off the weed.
Facts. Because even the Michigan State crowd is agreeing with it. I'm going to go off the rails for a second there, Ben. Dear Ike doesn't give a fuck.
What?
I said, Dear Ike doesn't give a fuck.
What?
You want to sit here on my show and smoke the lettuce?
What?
I said, smoke the lettuce while talking to us in the comments.
What?
And you are going to have us acknowledge the fact that you do not know what you're talking about.
What?
Oh, yeah, I said that. When I say that you're smoking the lettuce, your employer should look at you tomorrow morning and say this.
You're fired.
Because you need to
Stay off the weed.
Facts, bro. Rest my case.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
Courtney's back and says Rice is arguably the greatest player of all time.
Could make an argument.
You could, and we could break this down into position-wise. I'd have to say 100% agree with you wide receiver-wise, but it's going to be one hell of a debate if we go through all positions of the game of football and who is the best. Because, of course, quarterback usually gets the edge when it comes to all the positions and the rankings of them, but that's a pretty good debate to talk about the greatest quarterback over the greatest wide receiver. We may have to bring that back up in the next edition of the BS3 edition of this time he comes on back. That's a good one, Courtney. I'm going to have to keep that in the memory banks for that one. You're both right. There's no one even debatably close to Jerry Rice.
Facts.
Says Paul. Give a Brock the chance, he says. What are you talking about, Ike? I have no idea what he's talking about. Giving a Brock the chance. Purdy should be the starter, says Courtney. Yes, Ben agrees with you. I went off the rails for the other moment and said otherwise. Thomas Edward Patrick Brady II is probably not coming back. But hey, somebody's got a dream that those stats will get to 100,000 passing yards at some point, which they probably won't unless you have him on the game of Madden and run it up like a muck. Trey Lance gets traded on draft day, says Rick. What do you think about that?
Wow, that's a bold prediction because they're going to need a backup. So if they decide to go with Trey Lance, they're going to need to keep Purdy and vice versa. So I don't see him getting traded on draft day. I think that would be a surprise. But, they got to be thinking about it.
Yeah,
and where they're going to go.
It would definitely be enticing if they get a lot back in return for him at that time frame. So we could look back on this and be joking around with Rick on 2/22/23, but we could look back on this date and say Rick was onto something at that point.
Yeah.
Now, this is where it goes off the rails there, Ben, because of me bringing up the words Thomas Edward Patrick Brady II. Purdy is a product of the great quarterback-friendly system, which is what Ben was saying. So from a value and money standpoint, he should be the starter. Do they want to win a Super Bowl? Yes. And Purdy isn't going to be able to do that, in my opinion. He was tortured in the NFC Championship game and looked like Mr. Irrelevant. I'm not sold on him at all. Now, that's some cold, hard facts, Ben. What do you got to say about that?
Yeah. I think you really pointed out some things. The one thing I will say is that he will have a complete offseason under his belt. He will have another year of experience. Do I think they can lead him to the Super Bowl? I agree with you there. I would say no. I don't think that can happen because I think you're going to run into defenses that will figure you out. I agree with that.
Absolutely. Good take on that, Paul. Definitely like what you had to say
Yeah,
about that.
great
Stop talking about Brady coming out of retirement and going to San Fran. Yes, he called me out on it. You're absolutely right with that. But Tom Brady is looking right into Brock Purdy and Trey Lance and even Jimmy G's eyes as he's looked into Jimmy G's eyes before and saying this, Paul.
You may claim to be the best in the world, but I'm better than you. And you know it.
Am I wrong?
You are not. You are not. But the way his toes were in the sand when he did that short video, I think he'll get his fix by calling games. I think he'll get his fix that way.
You know what, Ben? He could have been playing a game of gun to your head and press record. Could have been a game of gun to your head, record this, or I'm going to divorce you twice. Even though double jeopardy is real. I don't know how that happens, but in their fantasy land, it could have possibly happened. Gun to your head, retire, or real gun to your head. I don't know. I don't know how they live life. Don't come after me like Brett Favre. Please, Tom Brady. I'm a small town fish out here. All right. I just like entertaining the fans. Stop with the Thomas Edward Patrick Brady II. He is done. All right. I will stop with it.
I've never seen anyone put the initials like that. That is, you put every initial in that guy's name. I love it.
Hey, man, I mean, some people I feel like look at it like prime time and just say this.
Ain't nobody care. Who cares? Ain't nobody care.
Like, leave me alone. Let me say what I gotta say.
That's a great clip right there.
Even Rick's like, no, Drew, in all caps. All right, guys, I'm gonna slow down a little bit. Jeez. I don't know who's having closer to heart attack levels, me or you. Let's go. Tom Brady with the laughing emoji says, Ike. Of course, Ike. We definitely have covered Tom Brady again. Another friend, Mickey Delaney, is here, says, hi, everyone. Well, what's going on there, Mick? Welcome back to the show. I appreciate you being here, as always. Dak would have screwed up in San Francisco's system. You think Dak would screw up in San Francisco's system?
I would say no, because I think Shanahan is a better coach than what the Cowboys have. And I think Shanahan would just give him a set of plays that he knows Dak can do 100%. Kellen Moore gets a little too cute sometimes. And I think their relationship, they talked about this in Dallas, their relationship is more of a friendship than it is a coach and player relationship, because they came up together. He was the backup. Right.
Yeah.
So I think that there was some, I really don't necessarily have to listen to you. You know, you can give me suggestions, but I may do what I feel is best. So I think if Dak was in a different situation, and I think Shanahan's, I'm not going to say he's a guru, but the guy has tapped into quarterbacks. I mean, and when he's been able to do it, they've been able to go into the playoffs, and they've been able to go on runs. Now, they haven't won a Super Bowl yet, but they've been to one. So he's got some upside on McCarthy and Kellen Moore. I'll say that.
Absolutely. And we got two more comments. Before I acknowledge them while we have the fans here, I want to say something. You probably noticed in here I've had a different shirt on today. I have my Geek Squad shirt on. It even has my name on it. Let me slide back over here. Yeah. This is the last day I will ever wear this shirt. I quit my mother-father job today. Well, actually, I did it the right way. It's not like I just up in there, walked in there like Clint Eastwood and said, I'm done, and I walked out. Okay.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that, kids.
I did it on the right terms. Okay.
Yeah.
But I left. And I'll be able to enjoy some vacation time on my way out. But the one thing I will say that I'm going to miss is this badge. This badge right here. In the times that we had, flashing this badge, getting some free coffee sometimes. No, I'm not a cop. But they loved me and my personality, free coffee personality. So I did a great job, 5.5 years. And I just want to tell the kids out there in these streets, if you work hard and you prove yourself every day and you treat every day like it's your last one, I'm telling you, there are great karma points out there that you can cash in and get a new job. I'm wearing the Geek Squad jersey for the last time. And I say jersey, it's a uniform, but you know what I'm saying? We're a sports debate. Geek Squad jersey for the last time
in honor of Today Was the Last Time I Was There. BS3's here tonight. Episode 80, Monumental. We talked smack about LeBus James. We talked about Thomas Edward Patrick Brady II. We talked about the Dallas Cowboys. What else could you have in one episode to not entertain you?
Yeah. Well, what an epic episode, and your last day at your current job. I mean, it really doesn't get any better than that.
It really wasn't. Like, I put in my 2 weeks notice yesterday, and I go in today, and instead of working out the rest of the next week as I was going to be on PTO, they're like, you got some PTO to use. You want to just use it? And I'm like, as long as I'm still rehireable. Of course you are, because we don't want you to leave, but they couldn't match what I was going to and what I'm making. And they want the best for you. And it's like, I put this post on social media earlier. It's like, you're just a number in a Fortune 500 company, but you can tell how much of an impact that you made to your team by how they let you walk out the door on your own terms. And like, I was like, it was one of those moments that, like, I've gone through some experience in my 20-year history. I'm only 36. I don't like acknowledging that out loud because I'm 4 years away from 40. Some people are like, boo-hoo, wait till you get to 40, but whatever. I'm still 4 years away. All right. Now, you can say what you want, but that was an awesome experience to have. And I had to bring that up on this monumental episode of episode 80 so we could look back on this someday and realize, why in the hell was he wearing a Geek Squad shirt anyway? It's like, who is your daddy and what does he do? And no, I'm not a daddy yet, but I'm telling you to my show that I'm a father of, this show, why it was and why it's monumental. Guys, thank you for tuning in to the awesomeness of the shenanigans of this show. As we do have a couple more comments to go through. My blood pressure is through the roof right now with these damn Tarheels, man. Absolutely are. Like, Paul is a huge Tar Heels fan.
Oh,
and when you look at this game, and with 1:18 left, Tar Heels are up 57-56 over the Fighting Irish in this current moment. It is close. So Paul definitely is spot on with that. Real talk. When is the offensive coordinator going to stop being the scapegoat for bad quarterback play, which is something that we did about too. We're talking about the Cowboys. How do you feel about that, Ben?
That's a good point. That is a great point because the quarterback has the ball in his hands at the end of the day. There's audibles. We all know that. I don't know if they have the open playbook to change it to whatever they want, but clearly you can see Dak calling audibles or saying, hey, we're going to change it to this or whatever their Omaha play is. So, yeah, we can't always blame it on the coordinator because he's not actually on the field. He's calling a play, yes, but that play has to be executed. And if that play is not executed, then that's got to be on the player, not on the offensive coordinator.
Absolutely. I mean, and we were just talking about that earlier, too. It's like Brian Schottenheimer's coming in. He will be the scapegoat for McCarthy, especially if McCarthy's calling the plays, because what else is Schottenheimer going to do? Okay, he's riding the coattails of his legendary father, Marty, and why he's gotten as far as he had, because he hasn't had a head coaching job in the NFL.
Yeah,
and he
or
probably
an interview,
won't.
I don't think.
No, I don't believe so either, nor does he deserve an interview. Okay, so we'll get back to Schottenheimer another day. I don't want to go too hard on him because we went hard on the Cowboys for a little bit. But as we wrap up the comments, Rick says he spent 28 and a half years at Walmart. Well, congratulations, Rick, on almost getting 30 years. That is a great milestone. I don't know, and for reasons that I'll touch back up on this, if I would have survived 30 years with the badge. Okay, we'll talk about that another day and not on this show, but it was definitely a hell of a ride. Had a lot of great memories, met a lot of great people, made some connections within this for what I do now based on doing that. So there's a lot of great things. I have nothing but great things to say about my company. That's why I wanted to rep them one more time, even though on paper I'm an employee for another 13 days. Today was the last working day, and on that day, because I was not postponing this show with BS3, we were getting it done as long as he was going to be here with me. I had to make it a monumental episode, so thank you for being here with me, Ben. On our last comment we got before we get out of here, Drew quit his job to be the quarterback for San Francisco next season. Yes, you just came it right out of the bag, Paul. My chubby fat ass is going to be on the field and do that. Yes, I'm going to be there next year. Well, guys, thank you for being interactive with us in the comments tonight. You make this show what it is. Along with my panelists I have each and every week that rotate in and out, it is the fans and your comments that come rolling in like this. It's still great entertainment for me and my guest in that moment, because even though we're approaching this,
Come after me. I'm a man. I'm 40.
it's still fun as hell, bro.
Yeah, that will always be funny, man. That I think about that all, and I'm 40. So as soon as I turned 40, or I was approaching 40, I was thinking about that, man. I'm a man. I'm 40. Look at me.
Hey, man, well, you're doing great for 40. You definitely kept up with me. I mean, I'm not far behind you, but they say I've got the stamina of someone 10 years younger, because I like throwing the shenanigans out here on this show. Like, this is my baby, and I like entertaining the fans. I like bringing the sports debate like you would see on TV, but on a different level. Facts with entertainment keeps bringing them on back. And thank you again for your time, man, as we have had one hell of an episode. We've only got one more thing to look at on our way out, and that is one badass outro from my man BS3, Ben Sudderth III of the BS3 Network. I am Drew Willingham of the Legacy Maker Sports Network. Everybody stay safe out there in these streets.